Hello and welcome to Castle of Horror, the show dedicated to horror movies and awesomeness. This week we have a look at the 2006 film Gamera the Brave. This is episode 374. Bear in mind, if you haven't seen today's movie, we're going to be talking about it from the perspective of horror fans who have seen it. So warning, spoilers ahead. From Denver, Colorado, I'm your host, Jason Henderson, publisher at Castle Bridge Media, home of the Castle of Horror anthology. With me from Austin is Tony Salvaggio, lead singer and bassist of the band Deserts of Mars, and lead guitarist of the band Rise from Fire. Say hello, Tony.
Howdy.
Howdy. Also in Austin, Mr. Drew Edwards is the writer-creator of the long-running underground comic Halloween Man, currently published by Comixology. He is a Best Writer Ringo nominee, Austin Chronicle Best of Austin Award winner, and a member of the PEN American Fellowship. Say hello, Drew.
Gamera is neat. He's made of turtle meat.
That's the song from MST3K, right?
Yes.
I gotta confess something. I have read that, but I have never seen a single episode of MST3K about Gamera, and I feel like my MST3K education has a big gap in it.
Those are all available though on the MST3 app if you want to watch them. And I think I even have the box set of those because they made like a Sneak Shop made like a steelbook box of those. And I love the originals. I watched them dubbed, and then I like the subtitled ones. I think the box set they made that came out, the big, nice Blu-ray set, is great. But yeah, I watch those from time to time. I just put them on the background. Some of it holds up better than others as far as the times we live in, as far as what they make fun of and stuff like that. But it's still pretty good. Like I do recommend watching those.
It's always such a complicated thing, like figuring out how to setting aside the PC questions, like just how to take MST if you're a person who appreciates film. And I've just decided basically that I like both. I like straight movies. I like to just go ahead and watch a Godzilla movie, watch a Gamera movie, but I also really like to watch MST3K, because that to me is it's always a well-made analysis of it. And I think it's okay. I think you can respect the art and also really enjoy decent humor around it. But that's tough.
Yeah, I mean, there's riff tracks of movies that I really enjoy that I maybe don't watch, or there might be Master Pancake, even though those guys are really funny and really good people and just they do a really good job. But there's times where I'm like, you know what, I'm okay with not having the commentary version of that. But again, that's your mileage may vary. I'm not going to tell people. The only thing I dislike is that we talked about it before. I think it did. A lot of people who aren't that funny have decided they can do that at the theater afterwards.
That's possible.
And that's not as great.
But, I wish there were a way to test that theory, because I kind of believe it too, but it's almost too convenient because I don't know what, because I also think it's possible that just having really excellent at-home video technology and the ability to get up and go to the bathroom and talk and go get a drink from the kitchen and stuff may also have disrupted people's ability.
I think it's all kind of wrapped up in the same area. But anyway,
I mean,
that's
at the same time
fine
too. Yeah.
It's fine as long as you're not, just be mindful of other people. If you're in a theater, be mindful of other people. Outside of that, who cares? You like what you like. I just enjoy things. It's fine.
My awareness of Gamera, by the way, is just a giant hole. MS2-3K or otherwise, it's like things I don't know about. The Salt
that's
Treaty
one that
and Gamera.
I guess I should. I don't know. I guess I should save it for my final thoughts. Finish introducing
or opening
everybody.
Thoughts.
I mean, opening thoughts. Yeah.
Our color commentarist. Finally, also
commentarian. I prefer commentarian.
Nice.
The color commentariat. Finally, also in Denver, color commentary, whatever that means. From
what
Julia
it means
Guzman,
today is Pride, because I went to the Pride Festival and there was lots of color. So
quite colorful.
There you
go. Julia was there in a T-shirt that said,
"Free Mom Hugs."
Free Mom Hugs, which is so sweet. That is so nice. I really love it. Welcome, Julia.
Thank you.
So this week, as we said, it is the 2006 film Gamera the Brave. This is a Japanese kaiju film written by Yukari Tatsui. It is the 12th entry in the Gamera film series, which, as we mentioned, I have not seen. Serves as the second reboot of the franchise. with the first being Gamera Guardian of the Universe in 1995. It's also the first entry to be produced by the Kadokawa Daiei Studio after the company purchased the assets, the Gamera assets of Daiei Film, and which was the original studio that made Gamera. So I'm looking forward to learning about this. Let's get opening thoughts. Let's go Drew, Julia, Tony, and then I'll go Drew. Gamera the Brave. Tell me your opening thoughts, and you can include: is Gamera an old favorite of yours, or are you a newcomer to the giant turtle universe?
No, I'm familiar with Gamera. I think a lot of people who watched Godzilla movies as a kid eventually came around to watching Gamera. In fact, I had a Gamera action figure on my desk for quite a few years. But I think as far as like Gamera as a thing, I'm definitely the thing that I'm the biggest fan is the 90s trilogy. Because they'll skew, I think, a little dark than most of the other stuff in the series. I thought this was okay. I don't know that I connected with it on too deeply, but I thought this was it was a decent time waste. I think the effects were really cool. I think the opponent monster was also really like I dug the design of that. It was kind of like a crazy sea monster dinosaur mashup thing, but this also strangely I could see the influence a lot of like American children's movies in it. Like there was quite a bit of Goonies and Monster Squad in this one.
E.T. I think
E.T. definitely
hard
E.T.
pressed to say
Yeah.
that it didn't.
Yeah. It was cute. I mean, like Tony called it cute before we started recording, and I think that's an apt description. It's definitely not going to be my favorite giant monster movie, but again, it was entertaining. It clipped along well. Like I never found myself getting bored. And again, the special effects were really, really fun in this.
Very good. Yes. Julia, so I know that you're new to the giant
Yes.
turtle universe.
Before I get into it, though, I have to say that we are in Denver, Colorado right now, and the Avs have just won the Stanley Cup. So go Avs! Yay!
Holy
Congratulations!
mackerel.
Woohoo! First time in 2 decades. So I'm hearing like fireworks outside. I'm sure there's all kinds of people screaming. So I got to say congratulations to our local guys. I'm not a
As
big
long as
sports.
it's that and not screaming
I'm
because
not
giant monsters are attacking. You're
exactly.
fine.
I'm not a sports fan, but I'm always a sports fan when my team wins a final something.
Wow.
So yay, Avs! Anyway, just wanted to say that because I'm hearing the fireworks going off outside. Yes. So this film, I've had really mixed emotions about this film because on the one hand, I thought there was some really cute part. Like if there, a lot of it felt like an after school special, kind of just like cute little, wants to be Stand By Me, wants to be ET kind of cute movie. And then there was parts where I was just really kind of troubled by the whole thing with the children, but I'll get to that later. But I did enjoy the actual monsters. I thought the effects were great. I love I love Toto. I think he's just adorable. And I mean, like I say, I have really mixed feelings about the fact that all these children are connected psychically with this turtle. And I think it's because and with the monsters and the whole thing, I think it's because I am really quite traumatized by the Children of Earth season of Torchwood. That was so terrifying to me. It's like one of the scariest things I've ever seen in anything is all these children being like, hive mind controlled. Whatever. So that was a little freaked out, honestly, by the idea that these kids are all going, like leaving, just taking off. Who knows? Their parents have no clue where they are, running toward danger so that they can help support this monster. I don't know. That whole thing just really, I was like really freaked out by it. But anyway, but yeah, I think it's a fun movie. I think it takes way too long with the whole just the kids, the whole Stand By Me after school special thing. It just didn't feel right to me how long it took on that, but I did love the effects and I did love the monsters.
Thank you very much. Tony, I often look to you to explain the world of kaiju to me because you have you have an enduring and almost childlike faith in these monsters. And so tell me your thoughts about Gamera the Brave and where I can fit this into. Like, if this is the only Gamera movie I've seen, what am I learning? What am I missing out on?
Well, I think so. I think I might have seen Gamera before I saw Godzilla, possibly because I first saw it on Monster Theater when I was living. I think it was probably Kerrville when I was young, and I saw several of them. There's one that really traumatized me. Like Gamera gets really, really hurt in one of them. I was like, oh no, that he can't. He's a super turtle. The first one kind of started a little darker. And to be honest, later in that early, set of films, they kind of get a little bit more clip showy. There's a lot more. Corners were cut. In general, I think Godzilla movies have a little bit more. I think they have more of an appeal for a lot of people. But Gamera I thought was really solid, and I have a lot of fun. There's some really good nods if you do like this movie. There's a part that we can get into it in a little bit, but I think if this is the only Gamera film somebody is watching, I think it's probably not the best version. I mean, ostensibly. So I watched some special features that were on the disc version of this. And it was made as a kids movie. I mean, we're ostensibly watching a kids movie. That. Like, we're adults. It's aimed at families. It's a family movie, and
family might be a better, like, in the sense that E.T. is about kids.
No, that's what they said. There's people on record, director, producers, like they said, hey, we want to make a movie that families could go watch together, wives, children, dads, families go. And they talk about the movie afterwards. That's the film we wanted to make this time. That wasn't always the case with previous one, right? So ostensibly, this is a family movie. This is a children's movie. It's targeted that way. We're adults, and if you're watching this as an adult for the first time, this is your Gamera movie. That you're like, well, I'll pick up Gamera the Brave. This may not be your movie per se. It's super cute. I like how cute it is. I like the Spielberg-y kind of nature of things, or all the 80s stuff. I like all the family stuff here. But I will say that if you were going to judge all Gamera movies based on this is why people have said it. However, the producer, original, son of the former Daiei president, Hidemasa Nagata, who was part of Gamera, he's also on that documentary special, saying, yeah, I want to make something for kids. Like, Gamera's always, he was really proud. The song that Drew was kind of talking about, like, it's way different lyrics. Of course, the MST one they made, they have different lyrics about Gamera being full of meat and all that. But he's really, like, Nagata-san is really proud of the theme. That Gamera march, which is, when compared to the kind of iconic, like, dun 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 of Godzilla, right?
Much less ominous.
Like, and it's singing about him flying around and having being jet propelled and all this stuff. I mean, it's way different. I think that's he's proud of that. And so that tells you a lot about where Gamera fits in with where it is in the kaiju kind of area. It wasn't meant to be as dark as Godzilla, especially as dark as Godzilla started, right?
I think you hit on something in your description of Gamera, and I just want to say this while I'm thinking about this, Tony. Even by the standards of the kaiju genre, a lot of Gamera stuff is just flippin' weird. Like, and it is. I think that's important to understanding Gamera.
No, I think I think the first one I saw was Gamera versus Gauss, which is like this giant vampire bat that hates the sunlight and is distracted eventually by sorry, spoilers, but they lure him to a giant spinning tray full of blood, or synthetic blood.
Sounds
I mean, that's the kind of crap that, like, and and here there's a part where the knife falls towards him and he breathes fire on it. And that's a nod to Gamera versus Giron, I think. Yeah, Giron, whose whole head is like a knife. and he can shoot these like, you know, shuriken out of his side of his head. But it's shaped that way because it's, you know, a Japanese cooking knife, and
Right.
so when you breathe fire on it, that's, you know, if you're a Gamera fan, you're like, oh, see, it looks like the creature.
Now that's
I totally
very
get it.
clever.
In fact, I really want a Giron knife. Like, like I have a friend who makes knives, and I've been wondering if I could. I'm surprised they don't make one, but I thought about commissioning her to try to make me a Giron shaped
That's a great
knife,
idea.
because that would be really awesome and geeky. But yeah, I think I do want to preface that by as we move through this, that this is supposed to be a children's movie, supposed to be a family movie, and like Drew said, the trilogy, the newer trilogy, the '90s trilogy is probably, or was it 2000?
It was like late 90s, I think.
That's right. You know, that's probably it's a little bit more. Although like Gamera is cuter in that, perhaps, than the original series as well. They did that on purpose as well. But he's super cute here, and that's it's meant to be that way. They
When he's in his
also
full height,
filmed
he's-
it all in during the daytime, so that it's not as scary. Like, all these things were choices to make.
Well,
it a
and he's
family
even
movie.
redesigned in the course of the film, so that like in the sort of first generation Gamera that they show sacrificing himself to save this fishing village in the beginning of the movie, that's a much harsher looking Gamera.
That one looks more like the Gamera, like, and that's actually the Gamera when I think about the character. That's like my mind's eye version of Gamera, because it's like very much taken from the Heisei Gamera trilogy.
Yeah. Oh, also, they purposely, in Japanese, it's translated as Little Hero Gamera, and they make a big deal about, we didn't put Gamera's name first in the original. It's called Little Hero Gamera because it's meant to bring you in as not necessarily a Gamera movie. This is a family
I get it.
movie.
Yeah.
And then
There's
that was a choice. Now, when we get to it, it's Gamera the Brave, which, you know, fits in the translation, but that was a choice. It was a really specific choice to title it that, so that on the, you know, movie posters and such in Japan, that, you know, Gamera didn't get first billing as far as the name.
Is the nature of this, and we're going to get into the plot in a sec, but
sure,
the way this movie works, where it's very much, in a sense, E.T. with a Gamera, where these kids find this creature and it starts to grow and it starts to exhibit powers and so forth, and it's. Are you telling me that in the other Gamera movies, I always heard that Gamera is the friend to all children, but you're saying that the other movies didn't focus on children in quite the way that this one does?
Not in this way. Like, there's a lot of children in peril depending on the one, and he saves you know, children, but not so much in the first one. The first one tracks a little closer to kind of a traditional Godzilla thing, but more of the slightly later Godzilla, where he's coming. Well, I guess in the first way, you know, he's coming to eat, and he just happens to destroy things as he's, you know, hungry. They dig him up in a, you know, he comes out of the, you know, I think it's the Arctic. I can't remember if it's Antarctica.
He's a non-malicious monster.
Yeah, he's just like he's. It tracks a little closer with Godzilla. It's not trying to make the same statement, right?
It's
but
almost Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
Yeah. I would totally go with that. But as that series progresses, he's rescuing children more. You know, he's saving them from planet. They're, you know, they ride on him, etc. And that's kind of where it builds. And
so if this is
the MST ones build on that too, and they have some pretty funny skits.
If this is a reboot that comes out in 2006, you don't have to know like the exact number, but were there a bunch in this continuity after this, or?
No, this is the last. I mean, this is the last. This is the
this
first.
Is the
and
last.
This is
there
the last time we've seen Gamera since. Yeah.
Wow, that's unbelievable to me. So there's so many fewer Gamera movies than there are Godzilla movies. Then I mean, because we reboot Godzilla every 18 months or so. Honestly.
Yeah, there's 12 Gamera movies.
I have to know. So you've never seen a Gamera movie before? As you keep to, like, I know you often skip your first reactions, but I really have to know, like, this. What did you know about Gamera before watching this?
Yeah, because we picked it because we were piggybacking off the last. You know, hey, let's do a kids movie. Let's keep the good feelings going.
I had no idea what to expect.
Did you know that he the turtle that flies and spits fireballs.
I knew that he was a turtle
Right.
that flies. He has jet streams that come out of his, where his appendages go, so that he can, I knew he was the friend of all children. I had no idea like what the tone of these movies are.
I didn't know
I know,
anything.
I know Japanese kaiju films well enough to surmise that chances are you could watch one and still not have a good view onto like the rest of them. Because if you pick one Godzilla movie, like say, Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, you do not have a view as to the rest of the series.
Right.
All,
Right.
all you have a view to is that one, and that's okay. So
Oh yeah,
when
and
I
Gamera
was,
does come from the Arctic, by the way.
Mm.
I had to place it. I watched it enough. I should have just rattled that off, but that's the day I'm having. Sorry.
So I had a lot of thoughts since this is 2006, so it's so close to our era. I was looking at it going and just making notes like, boy, what a cool village they live in. I want to go there. It's this fishing village, and it's also near what seems to be a very beautiful city. I think it's Nagoya, and
Yeah.
and also there's a giant turtle, and he was. I also thought it was interesting that they designed this turtle to be very cute is the word, and I know
Yeah.
that there's a Japanese word for cute. And what we mean by that is he has sort of rounded features that seem
Mhm.
almost cartoonish even in 3D. He's got big eyes, which always denotes somebody who is kind of cute. So he retains a kind of lovable. If they were to make ET would have wound up being 300 feet tall and still and still talking to Elliot and stuff like that. In fact, I'm shocked that didn't happen.
Yeah,
So
I think the term you're looking for is kawaii.
kawaii, yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah, that's cute.
right.
It's look how cute that is. Yeah.
Which is a cultural concept, that you can.
I mean, it
design
means
things-
more than that. Like that's the really boiled down version of that. It means
It's
more
a
than
way-
cute,
it-
but
it's a way
in
of saying-
general, when you say that, it's taken as most of the time it's taken as cute. I think you can even hear them.
in a
if
sense
you
that
watch
you're
the-
trying to bring elements of joy into everyday life, so
Right.
that you can take a mailbox, and the mailbox is boring and it's a mailbox, but if you put a pair
Right.
of googly eyes on it, it now has a
Yeah.
cheery personality, and that makes your life a little bit happier, a tiny little bit happier through this concept of kawaii, of
Yeah.
cuteness, and
Lovable, cute. It's depending on how, but I think it's a good enough catch-all that's kind of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
As far as
So
the description of this camera.
So yeah, we open up in the world in 1973. I presume that this is I don't know for sure if this is intended to tie it back to like the first actual Gamera movie or just an imagined suggested continuity.
It's like it's a kind of a weird hybrid between the actual Gamera and even the 90s ones, like the way, because he looks a little bit more like the 90s ones because we updated things. And so just kind of it's a strange kind of in between all of that basically kind of sets up a new version of the creature, because he's willing to sacrifice himself, and he does that. And it's pretty intense at the beginning, like with all the Gauss like creatures ripping him apart.
Yeah,
And
that's
things
one
seem
thing.
bad.
For,
Like
Well, that's the
I
thing.
was kind of surprised.
It's a family movie, sort of, but there's a lot of really horrific stuff in this film.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
it's still a kaiju movie, I guess.
standards
Yeah.
and practices in the United States are different. So that if we
Yeah.
have a kids movie, typically you don't have spurting blood of any kind.
Well, that's
Right.
something that even goes back to like the older kaiju stuff. Like I can think of like Godzilla movies that
Yes.
are definitely more aimed at kids, but like Godzilla's having arterial spray.
Right, it happens all the
Right,
time.
No,
right.
I mean when Gamera is stuck in the building and the effing other creature, whatever it's called, what's it called?
The one that he fights towards the end.
Does he have a name? I don't know, whatever.
I'm
Anyway,
sure it
that
has a name.
guy, the creature, it stabs him like he's like just stuck, and he's getting stabbed by this mean creature. I'm just
It's
like,
a
this is
Zetas.
horrible, and it's like
Yeah.
spurting out blood. It's very stressful, very very stressful.
Yes, because he has a big drill tongue that he can use to stab you. And yeah, Yeah, and they bleed like crazy.
And then,
Likewise,
and
yeah,
the kids, like I say, it's like that's the point at which the kids are running through the city toward danger to try to with their
yes.
little
Well, and we're
their
gonna get to that
relay.
one.
They're like they're yeah. Anyway, that was
That's a
all good.
magic moment, and I'll let you describe that one because it's very sweet. But before we get to that, so we're back in 1973, and things are looking rough against these bat creatures. That the way Tony describes it, I need to watch some other movies with these bat creatures.
The Gauss are probably, I would say, the most iconic
Yeah.
of all Gamera
Okay,
enemies. Like
so
if they would be the Ghidorah of this
okay,
franchise.
Yeah, and that's actually Gauss was the first, because up until a certain point, I'd seen these on whatever monster theater I could catch them on, cable, UHF, or whatever. And I remember Gamma versus Gauss I saw on KB Toys back in the day, and got scraped up enough money to buy it. It was actually on sale because it probably didn't sell that well. That's what the KB was great. Like when they did clearances, it was amazing if you were not well off. If you had limited funds, KB was magic back in the day,
I
which I definitely
remember it
did.
well.
And I
Yeah.
I had that tape. I mean, I think I still have it. That was like, I can buy this and watch this as much as I want. I was a decent amount older than when I originally saw it, but that was great. I mean, I was just couldn't believe I could buy that on VHS and watch it as much as I wanted, because it just wasn't available. Like none of this was available. It's, we live in a magic age as far as that goes. I mean, the fact
we
that I
do.
have a Blu-ray set that's just remarkable with amazing art and all these extra features that I can reference and talk, that's a far cry from hope that you see something on a UHF channel. I mean,
That's something that Joya has mentioned many
fantastic.
times, is that we grew up always sort of describing a future about how cool it would be if you could just go, I want to see Gamma versus Gauss. I want to see the episode of Family Ties where Michael J. Fox goes to the train station. And we
Yeah,
now
no,
live in that
to
universe.
me, literally, aside from stuff that will actually like save the earth or like allow everybody to have enough food and water, we are good with tech. Like that, we're at the point of technology where I don't want us to advance anymore, because now we only get to like Terminator or iRobot or whatever.
Right.
And so so I'm just like, no, I'm good now that I can do the two things I always wanted to do, which was one was call up whatever I wanted to watch, and the other is look up stuff on the road. Like Jason and I will be driving, and we'll be like, I wonder what blah blah blah. And forever I used to go, if only there was a way we could just look it up while we're driving, like not the person
Sure.
driving, but the other person,
Yeah.
And then now it's like, I would just have these smartphones. So now I'm like, yeah, I'm good with technology exactly where it is. Thank you very much.
You're describing also the phenomenon of future shock, which is Cory Doctorow was talking about this, and I picked up the paperback recently. It was a big phenomenal book in the 70s, and it was about how technology would be moving so fast that it would become toxic to us. That was the future shock, right? But what Doctorow observed was that what it really is any technology, like technology that comes around just as you're like in your 20s and you can like go get a job, and that's usually technology that you go, this rocks. Now life is great. Technology that comes around after you're like in your mid 40s is usually like scary and things can stop now. And that's like, and so then you'll have all these takedown essays about whatever is next, but what it really comes down to is technology is always changing, but we don't like whatever comes after the point where we're the most comfortable, which I just found fascinating. And it's true, yeah, whatever, when you're of the right age to take advantage of it all and to really enjoy it, that's where you want it to stop. That's where I want it to stop. Okay, so Gamera sacrifices himself grandly. This is a wonderful opening, by the way. This is a great opening because it's dark, it's scary, and then Gamera sacrifices himself, and then you flash forward to 2006, and the little boy who was watching Gamera is now a man who runs a fun restaurant, sort of beaten up restaurant in this fishing village. The whole community seems to hang out there, and everybody seems to know one another. And you're instantly in this world. Kosuke is the owner of this restaurant. You're in this great world where you're like, I want to hang out here. I want to hang out with these people who are always talking to one another and watching the TV and getting the same dishes all the time. And I have to say, just as a viewer, I was totally charmed by all of this. You find out that Kosuke, he has a son. The son is the name is actually escaping me right
You
now.
mean
I'm trying to.
Toru?
What's his name? Toru. Yes,
Yeah.
Toru is the son, and they're both mourning the death of the mom. Kosuke's wife died a year ago. But other than that, it's sort of a it's. I mean, I just loved this world that
By the way, if you want more kind of just drama and hanging out in restaurants, you
Yeah.
should really watch Midnight Diner
Midnight
on
Diner.
Netflix. It's great.
So this is a
That's
Japanese hanging out in a diner.
yeah.
in,
There's a guy. He's mysterious, and the premise is he fixes you whatever you want if you ask. If he has the ingredients,
That's great.
and there's regulars like it look like if you thought that was interesting, Jason, I recommend. It was one of my late night salve kind of. I'm just gonna chill out, watch Midnight Diner. There's a couple seasons and 2 movies, I think, but I don't know if the movies are available. Anyway, if you like that, if you're enamored by that, I think I'm gonna recommend to you watch Midnight Diner because I thought it was just great.
That's a good tip. I really appreciate that. Into Toru's life, they're walking along after visiting the grave of the mom, and he looks across the bay. Really only halfway across the bay at this little island nearby, where he sees a glimmering red light. And so he swims over there. And Julia, what does he find?
Well, at first I was like, I don't understand. Is this like far enough away that somebody is in peril and they're trying to get I kept being mad that he wasn't getting an adult's attention. I
Well,
was like,
adults weren't listening to him either. It was like,
adults,
oh, never
yeah,
mind.
well,
But
no, but I mean, like, it just at that
sure.
point, like, hey, check it out. Anyway, but so he just decided, this is the thing, like I say, that kept coming back to me as a parent during this film was all the things that children do without adults being and the wiser. But anyway,
Yes.
so he goes over there and he climbs up and he finds this glowing stone type of thing, and then and there's an egg. And he picks up the egg and it hatches this little turtle, which I would say baby turtle, but it's actually regular turtle size for us, but it's baby Gamera, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
But very cute turtle. I can't, I'm really, so we were talking about how good the effects are. I'm actually half the time I was watching this going, is that a real turtle? Okay, that looks
They
like maybe an animatronic turtle, but I think sometimes it's a real turtle and sometimes it's an
yes,
animatronic.
it definitely
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Like they said, they said as much. It's
Yeah.
sometimes it's a real turtle, sometimes it's animatronics to help
Yeah.
sell it. But yeah,
So that it walks the way they want it
yeah,
to.
Man,
yeah.
I want this little animatronic turtle.
But
That
the turtle that we see close up, I think is real, and he's so
yeah,
cute.
yeah.
So cute.
Absolutely.
yeah. Yes. So they
So of
find.
course he takes it
Oh,
home
yeah.
because that's what you do when a turtle hatches in your hand.
Yeah. And the
Yep.
stone. He takes the red
And
stone.
the glowing stone. Yep.
Yes. So let me stop for a moment because this stone is going to be mystical and it's going to be important for the rest of the movie. Is there anything in the prior movies about this magical stone, or is this all just new stuff?
This is pretty much new stuff. I thought there was some magical bits in the newer trilogy, but Drew, do you remember? Because it's been a while since I've seen those. I need to go back and rewatch them.
I would like to go at some point and actually do the trilogy as a retrospective because it's
Mhm.
Oh, that'd be fun.
been
Yeah.
about 10 years since I've seen them. There's some, I don't remember a stone, but like my memory is hazy because I had all those movies on VHS. I stupidly sold them instead of upgrading to newer copies, and they went through a few years where they were hard to find. But now they're all up on Prime, and there's a groovy box set and everything. And
the Arrow one is just amazing. Although I was, there's also a 4K version in Japan. I'm like, media in Japan is expensive. Always has been. And so you pay, unless you find a sale or somebody, re-releases it in a more affordable version, it's going to cost you. But I know that they're doing, they did Godzilla 4K and they're showing 2K versions of those 4K restorations on TV at various points, and I'm kind of envious of that. But evidently there was a 4K set of Gamera that I wish I had as well. That would be awesome.
One thing that I find really fascinating about the culture in these movies is that they'll invent just this mumbo jumbo about like magic stones and guardians of the galaxy that are giant turtles and all this stuff, and it'll have its own logic, and it'll almost seem as though it must be based on some ancient myth, but it's not. It's no more based on ancient myth than Marvel Comics, than Stan Lee and Jack Kirby just making shit up. And I am totally charmed by that. The notion that,
Well, a
you
lot
know,
of times they will root it in actual, that's kind of what kind of solidifies things.
yes,
So just as, we might do that for various rituals we have or whatever, this is a side Christmas thing or whatever. I mean, we don't have the same. I mean, culturally, there's so much different,
true.
right? But in the same way, though, although you could have if you're doing it in Europe, there's a lot of folk horror that feels like, oh, this is based on this Celtic thing here, or
Right.
something that we ascribe to similar to like Stonehenge, but in reality it's not like
I mean, I
that.
think
But
what
you
I'm
can base
what
if
I'm
you it's just enough to kind of sell it that way, right?
well, I'm feeling around the edges of a thesis, and I don't really know exactly what it is, but it seems to be that the feeling of being attached to ancient ideas and ancient truths is as important, if not sometimes more important, than whether or not those ancient ideas actually are there.
Right.
That feeling of, oh, this is an ancient temple, this is an old poem, the here's a moth, and there are these two princesses who worship her, and here's some cave drawings that talk about that.
Sure.
The feeling of ancientness is just as important as whether or not any of that actually exists. Anyway, there's a magic stone, and we're like, okay, magic stone is important,
Right.
and that doesn't have to be based on any cosmology at all. It's just, though, if any listener wants to write in and explain, oh no, dummy, the magic stone is important in X cosmology, and here's why. So okay, but the turtle begins to grow, and it begins to exhibit powers super quickly, and these kids immediately start defending and hiding this magic turtle as it gets bigger and starts to do things like float and fly and stuff.
But
Yeah,
it's interesting too, though, because the adults, I mean, as you're talking about this particular, how these mythos work, like the adults, when they were younger, people have found these small fragments of that, these stones, pearls, the
right.
red
Okay,
pearls.
explain that to me.
So,
There's a
there's
subplot
offshoot. Well,
involving, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, no, that's it left behind this egg that wasn't found, but it also left behind these magic pieces of that, like
yes,
in a sacrifice. And so by the time we come to this movie, they've sold off most of them.
yeah,
It's like these mystic kaiju. Oh, and it's been a pretty good boon for them for jewelry sales.
yes.
And this is the last one, but it just ties back to the sacrifice and tying back to the red stone.
So, what I'm thinking of is, they're going to soon, when Toto, their turtle, gets bigger and bigger, and then he starts fighting to defend them because a kaiju attacks. When the adults get involved, they refer to it as, and I just think this is fascinating, a Gamera. Like that's a thing. Like,
Right.
Right, because there was one. I mean, there was literally.
yeah, right, and they
That's
saw
what it
it.
was.
Everybody saw it. It wasn't like it
There's the
didn't.
original Gamera. So
Yeah. And in fact,
They're-
I also like that they, we're so far, because we keep doing this. We do this as a culture, as
Right.
a nation, as politically. They finally, I mean, when we start, also there's news reports that were like, well, we had this monster defense force, and
then we
and
disbanded
then
it.
we're disbanding it because we haven't seen a Gamera or a
Yeah.
Gauss or we haven't seen creatures since
So,
Gamera
70s.
sacrificed himself in 73.
Yeah.
So why should we keep paying for this? And I'm sure there's people,
That's funny.
taxpayers everywhere going, I haven't seen a monster. I don't know why we're paying into monsters.
Right.
Yeah.
But especially the counselor who's just, I've had enough of monsters. I'm sure he's trying to make his waves towards prime minister.
It's all fun and games. A boat full of
President.
sailors gets snacked on.
yeah, exactly.
That's
But it's always the short-sighted, like, why would we? And again, if you're a taxpayer, you probably are like thinking about these things. But if you're pragmatic, you might go, well, yes, but let's not contact. Wait, they're transitioning. They basically transitioned to the Japanese Defense Force, is what they're really implying.
It's exactly what happened with COVID, because
Yes.
George W. Bush funded a incredibly vast pandemic response team. Pandemic response team, and then Obama continued that, and then we got the Trump, and he's like, why are we paying for this? And then of course immediately after that we have a pandemic. So you
can see that shit over and over again. There's been plenty of times.
Not just that, but I mean, it's never great. And
so yes,
but they're transitioning it to the.
But I was gonna say about the Gamera thing is that though that it's funny that they don't refer to him as just baby, as like a Gamera, but not baby Gamera. Like we say baby Yoda, even though of course that's not baby Yoda, but just because we're like, hey, it's a baby version of.
The kids didn't know what Gamera was, so they just gave him his own name.
I guess you're right.
No, but I don't mean Toto. I'm talking about the people who keep saying it's a Gamera. They don't say it's a baby Gamera, which what I would say if I saw it. You know what I mean?
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
No,
they know soon it's not going to be a baby Gamera.
Right? Yeah, I love that it has a name though.
So
I wish it wasn't the name of the dog in the Wizard of Oz, though.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's perfect because he's cute and so is Toto.
I hadn't actually thought about that. When you say Toto
totally
to me, first thing that pops into my head, of course, is I bless the rains down in Africa. That's number one. Second would be that dog. So I suppose this was third, but I actually,
No, I was definitely thinking of the dog, but I was like, well, that works because he's cute. And whatever.
And they also have the whole scene where he's like, no, don't follow me home. And he hides, but it's a turtle, so it's funnier.
It is super funny. He's given lots of personality, this little turtle. Yes, yeah, but you're right. That's straight out of Lassie. The whole Roddy McDowell going, can't just see I don't want you no more. No, that's always perfect.
I think if I was talking about this movie, to your point, Julia, I probably would just call this character Gamera, because they're Gamera by the end of the movie. But it is good that they have a differentiation, which, I mean, in fairness, that's also what they do with Godzilla as well, because you have Godzilla the adult, but then the offspring of Godzilla have a different name. So this is essentially Gamera Jr. So,
yes, it is. It's Gamera Jr. Right. There could be other eggs out there too, by the way. Just not for nothing. I mean, it's possible. But anyway, I love that they're so giant. Of course, at 33 years is maybe nothing. So this little baby turtle is growing up and hanging out with these crazy kids in their sort of ET kind of world. Very small, loving, wonderful small town outside of Nagoya. And then into their lives comes a big kaiju called Zetas, which is he's got these dog ears that will puff up like big, like I don't even know how to, I don't remember which dinosaur in Jurassic Park it was that had the enormous.
Dilophosaurus.
Ah, yes. The enormous ears that just fan out like that.
Leave it to Drew to know that.
Yes. Thank you very much.
They're not ears. They're a frill, like a lizard, by the way.
Wonderful.
But,
I love it.
What I found interesting of this creature is that it actually seemed to have feathers on its back, which
it's a weird looking creature,
and it has the lizard side things as well around its head, which I thought was kind of cool.
Like knowing what we now know about a lot of dinosaurs, that's actually quite a progressive take scientifically.
Well, this is definitely post Jurassic Park, number one.
There wasn't any feathered dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. We didn't get feathered dinosaurs in that series until the newest movie.
That's a good point.
And I'm not saying that they never really fully explain where this critter comes from in the movie. Apparently there's some supplemental stuff that goes into the order, but my immediate response when I first saw this was because they can't do Godzilla versus Gamera, they're going to do this dinosaur-like creature so they can just have their Godzilla versus Gamera fight, but it's not necessarily Godzilla.
is a very specific design. You know, the big sails as you described them. I don't remember what you called them again.
Real.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, frills. Okay,
Frills, yeah.
and he's also got like all these spiny spikes all around, and he's skinny. It's a skinny monster that is very limber. You know, so it's a very specific non-Godzilla design that, you know, is ugly, good bad
But
guy.
it does kind of evoke Godzilla in a way.
Yeah.
Like
Although the tongue thing is kind of a little bit of a nod to Baragon
Yeah, he's got a
as
murder
well.
tongue.
Like,
Yes.
well,
the
but there's the monster in the original series, Baragon, that sticks his tongue out and has.
I just love the fact that this monster is like straight up about people, because like so many times it is I think if you were to ask people about giant monster movies, they would think that monsters were eating people in these movies all the time, but it doesn't actually happen all that much. But this one, it's pretty overtly happening. Like you see him pull the one sailor down and blood comes up like it's a Jaws movie, and then
yeah,
like,
that's right. You're right.
then like there's later on where he just literally puts his muzzle down and starts snacking on people.
Yeah.
And is it wrong? I know the answer to this already, but I'm gonna say it anyway. We've had such a cruddy week that when I saw him eating people, I was just like, good for him, you know?
Yeah, I've definitely, and I'll get into it more in my my endorsements. I've definitely had my couple of days of kind of escapism to not to take away from the gravity of things, but just okay, for that 2 hours I was really and that's why I kind of like that I know this is again a kids movie, but in a way, since I hadn't seen it in a while, and certainly didn't remember enough of it, that having a lighthearted movie was kind of welcome, even if it is lighthearted in the grand scheme of Gamera movies and certainly kaiju movies overall. I was kind of okay with all of that. I'll take a pseudo Spielberg kind of kids movie. That seemed, I don't know, that worked for me. This worked for me just because I thought, like, that is cool. I'm down with watching this family movie.
It is, again, when I think about family movies in the United States, something that is PG. I'm trying to think if something were G, you definitely couldn't have the guy, the sailor, with blood on his forehead, then finally get sucked down by a monster and then blood churns up. That would never happen.
Yeah.
Not in a G movie. In a PG movie, maybe.
Well,
I don't know.
I think it's also interesting that one of the parts that creates tension in the movie is the friend who's older, this older girl who is kind of taking care of him, but also fulfills the older sister kind of role. But
That's
her, whether she's going in for a surgery is, how serious is that? Everybody seems to think, but as a parent, also, I think that's another reason why they decided to, hey, let's make a movie with kids talk about it. But that's part of why, and that's part of why we go to Nagoya too. But
why is she having surgery again, by the way?
It's heart related, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, she's got a heart condition.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very, they don't go into it in great detail.
It's said very quickly, and you can miss it. What exactly? It doesn't really matter if she's going in for surgery,
but the kids are concerned, but also drives the tension of like, what are you gonna do? Taking care of Toto, all these. I think they fulfill a lot of children's movies tropes, but I think that it also kind of deepens it a little bit and allows for those some more tension. It could have just been, hey, let's do some Goonies stuff, right?
Yeah,
but
you're absolutely right.
I thought that's kind of cool and interesting.
Jason,
and also leads to why we have the relay race at the end.
Back to your question about the ratings, Jaws was rated PG, and Jaws has all the blood gushing through.
Well, there we go.
But Jaws existed before PG-13. PG-13 exists until the 80s and was kind of reaction to stuff like
to yet another Spielberg movie.
Yeah, well, like to Temple of Doom and Gremlins, and
that's right. Yeah,
and like stuff that was a little more hard edge. But
yeah, you're right. Okay, but thank you. That still does help me a lot, because obviously this is not an R-rated movie, and that would be idiotic.
I also think PG-13 has gotten softer years because like
I think I would agree with that.
yeah, like you look at something like Monster Squad and the kids are cussing up a storm, they're staking vampires, a werewolf gets blown to bits,
Mhm.
and you know, there's that I think that would have been an R-rated movie if it
I think the
had
bottom
good
line
movies.
is that to this day, G is G is G is G. Everything else is really fuzzy, like super
Yeah,
fuzzy.
it depends on the studio and the time and the
Right.
climate.
Yeah.
Like the climate of things and media and what we're outraged about.
Well, fair. Yeah.
Uh,
No.
I
good
mean,
point.
I've
Or not.
always been outraged by giant turtles.
Well, they're
Not me.
outrageous.
I've never thought about giant turtles until today or until yesterday.
I
Well-
mean, isn't what's interesting to me also is the comfortability with making a hero out of a creature that, you know, the Japanese eat turtle soup just like everybody else, you know, the like
Sure.
so
mean-
it's not, it's like having a favorite cow, you know.
Well, they mentioned, like, you know, credit where credit's due. It, you know, if you want to see all this stuff, definitely, you know, pick up the disc or borrow it, or, you know, there's a version of I know they re-released the Arrow box set in a more affordable kind of DVD only package. Didn't have all the nice booklets and stuff. And again, I'm just blessed that, you know, Matt Frank is a friend
Mm-hmm.
who drew all this awesome. I mean, he did all this amazing work on that camera, and it's all just so good. He's a treasure, in my opinion.
Which, you know, I have to say, to your point, Jason, though, it's no weirder than Ninja Turtles, and that's a really popular franchise.
Right.
True.
But they did mention, like, briefly, because, you know, some people wondered why I would make the slowest creature a monster. Evidently, there were more than a couple people like, why a turtle, dude? Like, the
Well, I
slowest
think
creature?
it
Come
makes
on.
it into kind of an underdog, which
Sure.
Gamera remains through almost all of this movie. He's always at a disadvantage to
Right.
Zetas.
And it's so badass when he becomes like a little spinning UFO, you know, because then
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
it's perfect. It's perfect shape.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
true.
no, well that's the thing is, the guy's argument was, hey, well, he can pull in his limbs and he can become invincible, like
Mhm.
he's got a shell. So now
Yeah.
he's vulnerable. He's like that like, oh, okay. But that was the plan, right? When people
Yeah.
go, why a turtle? It's so slow. He's like, whoa, yeah, but just think, when he pulls in all his limbs, plus my turtle's gonna fly. So there
Right.
you go. Right?
Well, and he's got these rocket propelled things, you know, so that when he pulls it, he spins around like literally like a firework, like a
Right.
spinning firework that you would set off. It's delightful. I mean, he's
It
actually
looks a lot cooler than it probably should, too.
yes.
Yeah.
But it's there's no element of horror about Gamera. Gamera is carefully designed so that he is always he's always one who elicits wonder from us and love. You know, unlike all the creatures that he faces who are always awful. We should talk about so when Zetas comes and attacks, and the girl May is going off and having her surgery. Zetas comes and attacks, and Gamera has shown up and saved the kids at least once. And so now the government scientists capture Gamera, and what they want to do is infuse him with power from these red stones because they found it. Because they need to basically, if I understand correctly, the Japanese Defense Force figures they need to supercharge Gamera quickly so he can get big and powerful and protect them. So this is another interesting take on the kaiju universe, which is one where there are occasionally monsters. If there are monsters, the government's best plan is to exploit one of the monsters. That's cool. I mean, they never do this with, like, I don't remember. Well,
They actually start doing medical treatment on Gamera in this one.
right, they're trying to infuse him with super red gem power to make him bigger and more powerful. This is like the government trying to make a Ghidorah, you know? Well, we need our own monster, and so we're gonna make a bionic Ghidorah to face off against these other kaijus.
Well, you
Which is
just
hilarious.
described the plot to Godzilla versus Kong.
That's right. That's exactly right. that's what they do. But I mean, so that's what they're trying to do here. What I can't
So,
remember is
right.
how is it that Gamera actually breaks out? Go ahead, Joy.
Okay, let me think.
Oh, I do remember. because this is the beginning. No, how does he break out of the government? Because later you're going to have the relay of the stones, and I want Julia to
Well,
explain because she's
yeah.
told me
Well, I
about
was
this.
gonna say it's when
But at this
Zeta
point, that's not it.
attacks, but I don't remember if we see Toto leave the facility.
I mean,
But anyway,
basically, he just breaks out.
I think well, no, I think maybe Zetas attacks. No, Zetas tears through the warehouse.
Yes.
Zeta shows up and tears through the warehouse. So they all run screaming.
So that's what frees Gamera at that point,
Yeah,
and
I
he
think
fights,
so,
but he's
yeah.
too small, and he's brave, but he's small. And I love the expressions on this turtle's face, as he's always just sort of. There's just a weird. Gamera has the funniest expressions of just sort of amazement, and also that he moves in a different kind of time from the rest of us because he's a turtle, so he's kind of sloth-like in terms of just looking up at something and going, well.
So everyone's hanging out in the shelter, that they've been sent to.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the to hide from the creature, and
Yeah.
so the kid, and somehow he still can get phone calls in there. I'm not clear. But anyway, he's wearing this shirt that says "a bang up work," which makes me crack up.
I wish I didn't want to be rude, so I didn't take a lot of pictures of just random people when I was in Japan.
Yeah.
But part of me kind of I never want to be rude, but part of me wishes I had taken more pictures
The shirts.
Random shirts. I mean, this one girl rode past us on a bicycle, and she had the shirt says something about the coming apocalypse, and but it was in this but the phrasing wasn't necessarily dire. It was just okay.
Yeah. Well, I had a friend who lived in China and another friend who lived in Singapore, and they both would post constant pictures of signs in English. And I was like, you guys need to get to introduce them to each other. And they actually did meet in real life. I was like, you guys need to get together and make a book because these are fantastic. Like the signs are hysterical. But anyway, they have not done that as of yet. But yeah, that was making me laugh. But anyway, so somehow he gets a phone call there about May's surgery having gone well, but then she keeps saying that that Gamera, the Toto, needs the stone, and he's like, okay, I know what that means. So he's gonna go, I guess, try to get the stone, but then his dad's like, dude, you gotta stay here.
Well, and this really brings the thrust of the end of the film is get away from the adults, get that stone and get it to Gamera. And Julia, can you tell us about this?
So she is like recovering from her surgery. It's like seriously ill, just can't even move, and she's suddenly compelled. And this is what I'm saying when I say it's really quite terrifying, the idea that a psychic thing is compelling these children to do these things. But in this case, it's love for Gamera or whatever. I don't know. But anyways, she's like compelled to get up and take the stone to Gamera, and everybody's like, what are you doing? You need to be laying down and just stay put. And this little kid, this little girl just goes, oh, immediately she's kind of like, ding, I know, like, it's my turn. And so she goes over, and thus begins the relay where she's like, I will take it to Toto. So she takes off. Who knows where her parents are? And for sure her parents are freaking out after this because they're like, where's our kid? She takes off, runs for a while, gets grabbed, I guess, by the cop, or somebody gets grabbed by the cop. And the point is, people keep running into obstacles, and other little kids with no parents will run up and grab the stone and be like, I'll take it to Toto. So it's the stone relay.
And the children know either from
they know where to go.
Sort of hive knowledge.
Exactly. They're being psychically driven to get the stone and to take it to where they need to go. And it's not like kids know the town really well, because we see the two kids who are trying to find the shelter who are lost. It's just that they know they have this like internal GPS for this.
So I want to stop you for just a moment and say that up until the film is just going along, I have to say I was very involved in this sequence. And I was very moved by it. And this sequence, actually, I thought was enormously effective.
It was. It was very compelling, and I was not sucked in before this point, really, except for maybe at the very beginning. So they're doing well. Good.
I think it's fascinating that I get that there's endangerment of the children, but my read of it is less, oh no, they're they're cyclically being willed to do this, and more of children are going to save us.
Yes.
Like the adults are running around everything, but children have a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And they're the stars of this because it's a family movie. I mean, but to me, I saw it more of the kids that are right. And now I understand that there's a lot of endangerment and.
But
Yeah.
this is a Gamera
I'm not a dad. I'm not a
no
dad,
harm is going to come to
No,
them.
I get it. And again, it's like ET
I
that
saw
way.
it as, hey, the kids are all right. Less than like, oh no, that wigs me out that they're
Oh no, I think our involvement
they're the saviors.
Yeah.
In addition to Gamera, like
I get it, and I know that's how it's supposed to be. I'm just telling you that as a person who is a parent and also a person who sat through a season of Torchwood where children were being controlled, I'm a little freaked out now by this idea. But I totally get it. I get that it's the ET thing. I get that it's wholesome and the whole thing, and I get 100% that Gamera is not at all malicious, and so it's not like Gamera's going, I will control the children. You know what I mean? I totally get all that.
Right.
So it is moving, but it's also, if you think about it objectively, kind of terrifying. But anyway, so these kids are adorable. I love their resourcefulness of getting around and just the relay aspect of it is fantastic. And then of course it finally ends up back in the hands of Toru, and the dad has come around to, okay, we can take it to him together. And at this point, Toto is stuck in like the 80th floor of a high rise, and I'm like, this was like really again, I don't know, maybe I was just in a place I guess I know why. It's just because it's been a crazy week. But anyway, I was in a kind of an emotional place anyway, so it was also bringing back a lot of 9/11 stuff for me, where I was like, oh my god, they're walking up these stairs and this is what these firefighters had to do, and you know, to go up. Anyway, all this stuff there was a lot of like really heavy stuff that I was dealing with, even though I don't think the movie's supposed to be heavy. But anyway, so the dad and the kid go up. The dad has to clear a space for him to get through where stuff has fallen, like beams have fallen, and so the dad lifts up the beam and lets Toru go through so he can get to Toto. And then it's a really sweet scene where he's like giving him the stone. He's going to give him the stone, but first he has to give him a pep talk, and it's very sweet. And then you have the adorable, you know, Toto who's in pain but is like looking at him like, okay, I understand Japanese perfectly. And you know, so he's like, and then he finally,
he is a monster from Japan.
Yeah, but he's also like 4 days old, so he learned everything very quickly.
Of course.
And so
you don't know about monster intelligence.
Yeah,
he could be a genius.
Exactly.
Instinct.
Well, probably. I mean, he got this big. You may as well get that smart too. So he gives him the stone, and that's I love when he just like becomes this like turbo powered like, you know, spacecraft basically.
Yes.
So you guys can talk about that. The effects were amazing to me.
But thank you for describing that sequence, because I think that's one of the best sequences I've ever seen in a kaiju movie. I just really, you know, very few kaiju sequences like tug at my heart, and this one really did.
I think that, you know, all of the stuff with the kids was well staged. I think all the monster fights are incredibly well staged.
Well, that's what leads us to this is that throw that takes
that was fantastic.
All that stuff is cool.
Yeah, Zetas like kind of leaps off a building, does a flip in midair, and like throws Toto into the building. That was crazy. I love that so much.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some really great, like the practical effects are like all the animatronic stuff and just the blending of the what is CG for the budget and everything. Like there's some really neat stuff.
I guess
I've seen a lot worse in kids movies. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, when you think of the wire work needed when Zetas does that flip and Gamera is holding onto his tail, so the flip slings Gamera through the air. These are with guys in suits, so they've got to be wired, and you don't see any of that. It looks great. It looks fabulous. It's really neat. So yes, Toru finally throws the gem, and that renews Gamera so that he's able to face off, and they have their final fight. And the big problem at the end is that it's possible that Gamera will sacrifice himself if that's the only way, because they've established that this Gamera, if it's the only way to defeat those who are threatening humanity, he will blow himself up, because that's a tried and true way to get rid of the kaiju, and they just really don't want him to do that. And so instead, what he does is this killer thing where he charges up and then he just shoots a super fireball, and it blows Zetas to like little
Zetas.
little little itty bits. And
Thankfully, although that probably killed a whole bunch of people, it did not kill our main characters.
yes,
Even though they were
plus there's gonna be like little roasted bits of dinosaur all
That's
over
what I
the
said to
town.
Jason. I'm like, boy, this is gonna be some cleanup job these guys are gonna have.
I mean,
yeah. Anytime that you have a kaiju battle, because also Zeta's like, I like the choreography too, because there's a point where he just smashes his foot into Gamera's chest and pushes him into a building.
Yes,
and just
it's great.
The physicality of a lot of it was you don't always get that in
yes.
The actors
wrestling.
in the suits are amazing, and the special
and the
effects
models
people are amazing.
all of these models. I'm continually amazed by them. I don't know how they build these models to know, like, we want it to collapse in such a way that it feels like it has weight, and it feels like it really has walls and then empty places
It's an art.
and stuff.
It's definitely an art.
There's some pretty good documentaries on it, and documentation as well. Like, there's some really good books. So on both sides, that's kind of why. Sorry, I was
no.
I had both of those in my head, and I'm thinking of both of them. But like,
I know exactly what you're
sometimes a lot of it is how you also something I learned from the Daimajin special commentaries and specials. With you also have to throw some particulate in the air as well to kind of make sure that it has that atmosphere, because it's a miniature. So that all that stuff they've been planning, and there's a lot of craftsmanship that's involved in it, a lot of planning, and sometimes if it doesn't look quite as real, but it's also they chose to make it in the daytime, to not make it as scary. But when you choose to do that, you also have to, like, the way you have to light it has to be so much brighter, so it's so much harder to hide all the bits. By the way, they actually all the debris that was outside the train station, they actually just hauled in debris.
Oh, really?
It's closed off roads and everything.
I mean,
amazing.
That's a hell of a set. That's the multi-stories of that set, all of this looks beautiful and expensive, and I was really impressed. And it kind of gives you an idea also. Our 20-year-old often complains about the MCU movies, about how everything's so green screen, that there's a certain, like, non-physicality, like the characters are often
absolutely
several yards in front of whatever it is that they're standing in, and here it's all physical. So it's all like stones and rocks and beams and all these things that are around them, and it feels, it doesn't feel as expensive. Clearly this is a different universe from an MCU movie, but it feels very real. So
there is a certain kind of, it's weird because, well, anytime you do CG, you're really trying your best to not make it look sterile, because all the stuff you have to add to make things dirty is added. Because raw, as you create things, it is technically sterile, right?
Yes,
it's all the CG stuff, so you really, really have to work to place things and to set dress them so that things feel lived in. And I think that's part of what they're reacting to. Is it's cool and it looks cool, but if you don't put enough into that, no, there's green screen galore in this movie too. There's parts where they're running at the camera, and it's not just, it's a good mix. But I like that the models sell it in a way that it's harder to do CG. I mean, I just watched Doctor Strange, and the newest one, and there's some amazing elements, and I mean the sets look great, but if you're looking for it, if you're trained, if your eye is trained for it, you'll see it's hard. It's easier to see where, oh, that's a little bit more CG than other parts. On the other hand, there's tons of just amazing, like this building's crumbling and this is doing that, and like it's breathtaking what we can do now. But even on that, some of the best things are the same old Sam Raimi tricks that we've seen Sam Raimi do, right?
Yeah, that's
the tried and true things that work, and you're like, yeah, I mean, that looks good. I like that, and I think going back to this, Daiei has made these Gamera movies for they can talk to the people who have the tricks, and they can reference that and figure out where they want new things, and the challenges. It's challenging. I've seen interviews where they're talking about it's still a challenge. It's not we've in some ways some of the old stuff was easier, even though we have all this new technology, and that I found fascinating.
Well, I mean, that's what art is like. If you make the most amazing chairs in all of the country, it's still hard. You're able to do it, but you're special because you can do it, but that doesn't make it easy. It's still a skill, and
right.
it's
Game development, people I've seen so many people. There's a trend towards pixel art games, and I think that's amazing. I love it. But there's this idea that even if a game is 2D or it's pixel art, that somehow it's easy. And the tools that we have now, because I'm old enough to remember when Photoshop didn't have layers,
Yeah.
or heck, when things like a computer only drew like 4 colors, right? I'm old. In the grand scheme of technology, I am an ancient. But yes, all the tools that you can use now are just amazingly fast. You can create stuff so quickly, but you still can tell the craft. It's not easy. It's still not easy to make a game.
Right.
People think it's easier, but to make or especially to make something good. You can make a game.
Somebody
who's a good game.
I mean, the nature of somebody who's a genius at something is that they make it look easy. And but what it is
but there's a misnomer often.
But
there's a misnomer often that because the tools are simpler, it's just make a 2D game, it's easy. And then the same thing with special effects. Like all of the tools are vastly improved to create something. So the floor is there, like is kind of lower. Like you can make a lot of people can make the base level of a thing. But the true craftsmanship comes when you see something where you're like that walks into a believable realm and sells it, and that's where you really see this kind of stuff. And I just love that there's still kaiju movies coming out. You can find them on Amazon. Like I kind of want to cover some of the newer ones because they've really been trying to make cool stuff and to really have different voices outside of more independent voices making kaiju movies. There's a few up there, so. But I think that's great. And, as kiddie as this movie is, like the work, it isn't just like, oh, what's kids' movie? We can just, kids won't care, right? They still sell it in a way that other kaiju movies sell things. And that's great.
So that is the end of this movie. So what we should do is talk about if there's no topic that we haven't hit yet, then what we should get are our final thoughts on it. And I can't think of any topic that we haven't quite hit that we can't hit in our final thoughts. But so let's do that. Drew, this was a lot of fun to discuss. What anything that we may have missed, and also what are your final thoughts on Gamera the Brave? What a sweet little boy Gamera was, the Brave.
My final thoughts are the same as my first. I had a lot of fun watching this. It was a good time. I don't think that I connected to it quite as deeply as maybe you did, Jason, but I still thought it was very well produced and had a lot of cool things in it. I'm glad we did this. It was a great discussion. I think the discussion in of itself was probably my favorite thing of the whole experience, and I'm glad that we have introduced you to the whole new kaiju world of giant flying turtles, because that's really amusing to me. So yeah, good stuff.
Very good, thank you. Julia, what about you?
I think for me, it's kind of like two movies. There's the creatures and the kind of suspenseful scene of getting the children relaying to get the creature what he needs and everything. And then there's just the kids being kids and kind of having their life together. And I feel like that second, well, really the first one, but the second one I mentioned wasn't really doing it for me. I don't know. It was a little slow, but all of the stuff with the creatures and all of the compelling, stressful stuff at the end was very interesting, and I liked it a lot. That was really effective and really great effects.
Thank you very much. Tony, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I again, it's a kids movie. I think most of our listeners tend to be, closer to our age, I believe. I haven't done the research on any of this. Just pardon me if I'm wrong, but definitely, probably not teenagers or preteens as the kids. This is aimed at families, and we don't do a lot of family movies. I'll be honest. I thought it was kind of cool. I was really liked watching something light. Recently, I've stopped and started actually some heavier movies recently, where I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna watch something else. And not to say that any of that's not valid, but my mind is in a different place right now, and it was nice to kind of get some kind of callback family movie stuff here. It is a lighter movie. I don't think it's my favorite Gamera movie. I'm kind of with Drew that there's others I prefer, and I also do like the trilogy that we want to do at some point in time. It is weird if this is your intro to Gamera. I didn't really know that, or else I might have recommended the first Gamera Guardian movie. Probably would have recommended that. But I think all of it's on Amazon right now, if I'm not mistaken. So you can watch, as many as you want, and that's cool. Or again, you can catch the MST versions of some of them on the MST app, and right now they're free until a certain point. So I put those on the background off and on just because I think they're fun. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the special effects, and I think it's a cool entry. It is kind of weird that we haven't seen one since then, but
Yeah, that is strange.
I don't know.
That's very, very strange. Just for the relay of the Magic Stone, I really love this piece. So this was a wonderful way to be introduced to the world of the turtles. And in fact, tonight when I go to bed, I might watch an MST3K Gamera movie. I think that would be super fun.
I think if you want to sell it, start with Gauss, just because that's probably the one that tore me up as a kid though was Giron, because I think Gamera gets hurt more in that one. And I was just no. But Gauss actually does some damage too, and I want to say that I saw that one on, because it stuck with me. The way that they try to vanquish him is what stuck with me as a kid, and why I remembered it when I saw that VHS copy that I bought that I still own. So yeah, I mean, I recommend seeing them without the commentary just because I think they're solid. But whatever you enjoy, that's who the hell am I to say?
Excellent. So yeah, so now we should do our endorsements. Whatever you've been listening to or watching that you care to share with us. And our friends over at Monster Movie Happy Hour always put the extra spin that it needs to be genre.
Well, just last night, I watched The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which is a action comedy in which Nicolas Cage plays a fictionalized version of himself.
We loved that movie.
It was so funny. We laughed, and I am a bit of a Nicolas Cage fan, so like your mileage might vary, but I think the self-effacingness of it, like I recommended it to my parents, and I almost never recommend movies that I like to my parents because their tastes are usually different than mine. But I think that the humor of this will translate to a lot of people, even if they have their patience with Nicolas Cage's eccentricities have long since run out, because it's just legitimately a very funny movie. So I really dug it. That was for rent on Prime. I also want to do a pre-plug. I have a new Indiegogo coming soon. It is on it's going to start on July 6th. It is Halloween meets the Latex Avenger. The Latex Avenger is a comic that was created by my buddy Dan Price. It's exactly what it sounds like. He is a condom-themed superhero. If you want something to take your mind off of the dumpster fire that is the world right now, I think that this comic is a good way to do that because it is incredibly silly and goofy. So yeah, more details on that in the coming week, obviously, but I will post the sign up sheet on our Facebook group, so you can get in. It'll let you know when the crowd has gone live.
Wonderful, thank you. Julia, what about you? What do you want to recommend? I feel like we've watched a lot of media this week. Maybe I'm just imagining that.
I didn't really watch a lot new. I watched. I don't remember if I mentioned that I started watching Ms. Marvel, but Ms. Marvel is really cute. I love it a lot. It's just kind of a neat, sort of lighthearted but well written Marvel show. So that one's fun. And
I've
then
been enjoying that too.
yeah, and then I'm restarting, or I should say restarted the Jack Ryan series with John Krasinski because remembered watching like the first season and a half, and I can't remember what happened after that. I was like, I don't remember what happened. I don't remember why I started.
I know the feeling. Yeah.
So I'm just like, I just went back and started all over again and have been binge watching it, and it's a really great, exciting show. I think maybe at the time I found it too dark, but now I'm like, yeah, it's fine. It's not as dark as actual life in a lot of ways. So anyway, but yeah, so that's what I've been watching. I haven't made it out to a movie theater in a little bit. So my kids watched Lightyear and they loved it, but we haven't gotten to see it yet. And then so we're looking forward to seeing a couple things that are out. But yes, I think I endorsed the first weekend that it was out, that movie, the Nicolas Cage movie, because it was just so funny. I really, definitely check it out if you haven't seen it already.
Excellent, thank you. Tony, do you have anything to recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I think I told you about Spriggan, which I love the manga, the new series that Netflix picked it up, 6 episodes. I just really dug on that. Ancient archaeology uses weaponry, and and lots of super action martial arts stuff going on. I really dug that. But in reality, I mean, I spent off and on. I haven't seen nearly as many movies as I wanted to because a lot of stuff has been going on. I just never seem to have quite enough time lately. But Chattanooga Film Festival online has just been great, and they have a second half badge so you can catch, and there's still some premieres. They've been doing a really good job of parceling out premieres over the course of the fest, and it's online, and once things hit, you can watch them as many times as you want. They have kind of different tiers, so some movies due to windows are only you can only watch it in its time slots, special premieres. Others, once they hit the time slot, you can then watch them for the rest of the fest. And then other movies you can just watch as many times as you want. And they've been doing the special programming. Sadly, because of just stuff happening, I missed there was a Godzilla panel. They've been doing Q&As after the films with various members of the crew of the films, and that's just, I mean, it's so great. When they first pivoted at the beginning of lockdown, I mean, that was one of those things where I just couldn't go to the movies. I couldn't watch movies, and Chattanooga really filled that. I think they did such an excellent job of pivoting and allowing you to see all these genre films. Like, I know I probably sound like I'm spreading on pretty thick, but I think they've done such a good job over the past 3 years that it's been really amazing in how they get people and the choices, the selections they made. So far, I started a movie called Cryo, which was really interesting, but I didn't get to finish. I started actually several other movies that seemed like dark enough that I'm like, I want to come back when my headspace is a little bit better. There's a really disturbing one called Zaria. They're also showing, I think I'd mentioned it, we talked about Timekeepers of Eternity, which is Langoliers Xeroxed and then reshot off of Xerox.
What a strange experience. That was really
and it
cool.
is amazing. There's a really disturbing, dark, but interestingly made film called Zaria, which uses like puppets and people's masks, and found the subject matter pretty heavy and dark, but the miniatures and everything that are used in it are just amazing. I'm looking forward to watching Thrilling Bloody Sword and let's see, what else was it? There's another martial arts movie. I watched a really gory movie. Drew, if you ever see it, it's it's called Pussy Cake, about a all-woman rock band encountering kind of interdimensional zombie-like creatures,
Sold.
full of practical gore. Like, it has a lot of throwback, 90s, 80s, 90s kind of stuff. And it was kind of cool. I watched that late at night, and that was kind of interesting. Lots of throwback. If I thought of you, Drew, when I was like, Drew needs to see this. I watched The History of Metal and Horror, which has a lot of luminaries. Rob Zombie's in it, talking a lot about his influences. I thought that, that's cool. But Alice Cooper and John Carpenter, since we covered, they talk about, hey, they became friends, and that's why Alice Cooper is in the movie, like in Prince of Darkness. And in fact, to the point where he goes, hey, can you do the microphone stab thing, but with a bike? He's like, yeah. But
Awesome.
there's all kinds of things like that about the intersection. Now there's a few, being into horror and metal both almost equally, it's always easy to nitpick and say, I wish this would have been in there. But you have X amount of time as a director to make those things. It's got an interesting framing device too for the whole thing. I thought that was kind of neat, that kind of creates this setting in which the history of horror and metal comes about. But there's lots of iconic, lots of metal musicians talking about, things like how, Don Dokken talks about them coming to him and saying, hey, we need this song. It has to be called Dream Warriors, has to reference Dream Warriors, stuff like that. There's all these bits. And yeah, that was really cool. And there's just a lot of movies. I think I tweeted about, hey, my endorsement. I usually don't pregame it, but I tweeted like, hey, the second half, because the second half badge is like cheaper, and it's even if you watch only a few movies, these are genre movies that may not have distribution. Hopefully they all get distribution, but that doesn't always happen. So you can take the time to stream it. Oh, and I have to talk, because it was so cool. There's a satire of movie making called Make Popular Movies, and so many of our Austin friends were in it, and people are in. It's filmed partially in the draft house, and so it was that was a nice escape too, to see familiar faces, and I knew that friends of mine were in it, and then to see more and more friends and kind of knowing their sense of humor, I thought Make Popular Movies, and the satire was exactly what I expect from certain friends of mine. So John Golson and Zach Carlson, amongst others, friends of mine, were in it. And it's just cool to. I was really enamored because I like their sense of humor and I know them. And so it was a really kind of pleasant, oh, cool, my friends, let me support them. But also it's really funny and cool. So Make Popular Movies was my nice kind of Friday evening good time. But yeah, Chattanooga Film Festival online, like, good people run it, and they really seem to care about everybody's experience. They've set up Discord servers so people can talk about the movies. Originally it had kind of a sidebar, but then people were kind of they pivoted on that because it was a little bit distracting, and since then they've listened over the years and have made this really great online experience. And like I said, I know I'm going long and I'm selling it kind of thick, but I love film festivals. I love supporting indie film, and I think for people who are curious in their film viewing, people who want to see what's out there, I think these kind of festivals, and especially putting them online, allow for that. And I'm, I always try to be a champion for that, because I think some of the best stuff comes out of that, and doesn't always end up, luckily, things like Beyond the Infinite 2 minutes have shown up on Amazon. That crew has done another time travel movie that I just see, and now I can't remember, but Third Window Films is making it. But I'll definitely check it out because I love Beyond the Infinite 2 minutes. But yeah, I know I went long on that, but film festivals are my jam, and online film festival allows it to be accessible for so many people that I think that's, and allows independent filmmakers who may not would have had a voice to get more viewers and to get people into their films. And I think that's fantastic.
Thank you. Actually, in something very similar, Anime Fest Dallas Anime Fest is coming up at the end of July. Now, this is not online. This will be actually in person, but I just want to mention that so far, several of us will be there. I know we'll be doing a live panel and some other panels, but we'll be recording at least one podcast episode at a panel. So
For the first time in years, too.
for the first time in several years,
Because of
so
pandemic fun.
yeah. So this is going to be really neat, and that Julie is going to be there. I'm going to be there. Drew's going to be there, and this is the Dallas Anime Fest in the last weekend of July. So we'll be talking about that more. And that's all I got. That's me. So we will be back next week. Somebody remind me, what is the film next week? It's
The Frighteners.
Frighteners. Yes, with Michael J. Fox. Totally stoked. That'll be a blast. Yeah, Peter Jackson, right? I believe.
Yes, Peter
Yes.
Jackson.
So very good. I probably
Oh.
haven't seen it since about when it came out. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I've seen it. I'm stoked about this. Frighteners is great. By the way, the movie I was thinking about is called Summertime Machine Blues. So I think Third Window is putting it out, but I'm hoping to catch that. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard great things about it. So, but that's another one that, getting cool stuff out there, I think, is always best. But
Fantastic.
I am super stoked about Frighteners, though. It's so good.
Yeah, that's going to be good. That'll be a lot of fun. So that's next weekend. Everybody, be kind to one another. We're so thankful that you would spend time with us talking about giant turtles. I really enjoyed this.
I like that they do actually at one point say I like turtles.
Yes.
And all I could think about was the clip in the meme.
Just
They actually said it, and I was like, oh, that's great.
Yeah. It's the end of June, so happy Pride, and I hope you guys got out this weekend. Everybody have a fantastic week. We will see you around. Bye.
Right.
Good night.